Okay, get this. Imagine you spend $5 billion. That's a billion with a B.
Yeah.
On one single secret mission. And at the very last second, you literally drop the prize.
Hold on, 5 billion now, or 5 billion back when you could actually buy something with it?
5.1 billion in today's money. It was 800 million back in the 70s, which the CIA spent on this thing called Project Azorian.
And what was the mission?
To steal a sunken Soviet nuclear submarine from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
Seal us up. Okay, how deep are we talking?
3 miles down,
Yeah.
16,000 feet. I mean, the sheer nerve of it is just incredible. But here's the punchline, the real kicker. They build this enormous one-of-a-kind machine. They go down there, they successfully grab the sub, and then the giant claw they built breaks.
No.
Yes, they drop most of it. All the good stuff, the codes, the missiles, right back to the ocean floor.
$5 billion for what, the world's most expensive case of Butterfingers? Who was running the show? I have to know how this happened.
That's what we're getting into. It was this mix of genius and total disaster. The target was a Soviet sub, the K-129. It just vanished in 1968, way out in the Pacific Northwest of Hawaii.
And it wasn't just some random patrol sub, right? It had to be carrying something important.
Oh yeah, the ultimate Cold War prize.
Yeah.
They were after two things. First, their secret code books, the cryptological stuff.
If you get that, you can read all their mail.
Exactly. And second, they were pretty sure it had an intact R-21 nuclear missile on board.
Wow. So you're not just stealing a boat, you're stealing their secrets and their doomsday weapons tech. But wait, if it just vanished, how did the Americans even know where to look? The Soviets couldn't even find their own sub.
And that's where the story really starts. The Soviet fleet, they searched for weeks. Nothing. They gave up.
They were looking where it was supposed to be, not where it actually crashed. Classic mistake.
Right. But the U.S. was listening. They had this secret network of underwater microphones all over the ocean floor. It was called SOSIS.
So not for talking, just for eavesdropping on the entire ocean.
Precisely. And on March 8th, 1968, these listening posts hear a huge explosion deep underwater. They used all their different stations to triangulate the sound, and boom, they pinpointed the wreck's location to within 5 nautical miles.
5 miles! The Soviets are searching thousands of square miles, and the Americans know basically the exact address. That's a game changer.
It gave them the confidence to go for it. So, next step, they had to get eyes on it. The Navy sends out this super specialized spy sub, the USS Halibut.
Okay, the halibut. And how do you take a picture of something 3 miles down? The pressure must be insane.
They had this thing they called the fish. It was this 2-ton camera sled they lowered down. It was built to survive pressure that would turn a battleship into a tin can.
Just think about that. A camera that has to work with like thousands of tons of pressure on every single inch.
And it worked. The Halibut spent weeks down there, taking over 20,000 pictures. The photos proved it. The front section of the sub was mostly intact. That's where the missile and the code room were.
And that missile, the R-21, what was so special about it?
It was their first real submarine-launched nuke. Getting their hands on it meant they could see how it was built, how it was guided, everything. That kind of intelligence was priceless.
I get it now. So when they pitched this to Nixon in 1970, they weren't just asking for money for a salvage job. They were asking for the keys to the kingdom, the enemy's entire nuclear playbook.
Exactly. The CIA got the job, and Project Azorian was born. But now they had a problem. They had to build a ship big enough for this crazy lift, but do it in total secret.
Which leads to the world's biggest, weirdest mining ship that wasn't actually mining anything.
Yep. The Hughes Glomar Explorer. This thing was a monster, over 600 feet long. And to hide it in plain sight, they needed a cover story so absurd, so over the top that nobody would question it.
Enter Howard Hughes.
The CIA basically partnered with this company that put his name on it. The story was that this eccentric billionaire was going to mine these things called manganese nodules from the seabed.
So wait, they used the craziest, most reclusive guy in America as a cover. So the Soviets would just look at it and go, oh, that's just that weirdo Howard Hughes wasting his money again.
It was the perfect smokescreen. Hughes wasn't really involved, but his reputation was. But the ship was only half the magic. The real show was the giant claw. The crew nicknamed it Clementine.
And it was lowered through that giant hole in the middle of the ship, right? The moon pool.
The moon pool, yeah. That was the secret.
Yeah.
The entire claw and the piece of the sub they recovered could be brought up inside the ship, underwater, completely hidden from spy satellites or any passing ships.
That's actually brilliant. A portable, secret, underwater garage. Okay, the $5 billion is starting to make a little more sense.
So the Glomar Explorer gets on site in July of '74. They're there for over a month. And get this, while they're working, Soviet ships sail right up to them. A tugboat and a communication ship.
You've got to be kidding me. Did they just wave hello?
They watched for a bit, but then left. Soviet command had been warned, but they officially decided that lifting a sub from that depth was, and I quote, impossible.
Wow. So their own mission was so crazy that the enemy didn't even believe they were doing it.
Pretty much, but their luck didn't hold. After all that work, they get the claw attached. They start lifting the 138-foot forward section, the main prize.
And then the big oops.
The catastrophic failure. Deep underwater, as they're slowly pulling it up, the claw just fractures. They use this special alloy, miraging steel, that was supposed to be super strong, but it snapped.
So a $5 billion project failed because of bad metal, 3 miles under the sea.
A fatal design flaw. 2/3 of what they were holding, including the sail with the code room and the missile bay, just broke away and fell right back into the darkness. All they got was a 38-foot piece of the nose.
So after all that, they basically reeled in the bait. That's a spectacular failure.
Well, not a total failure. It was still a huge intelligence win. Inside that little piece, they found 2 nuclear torpedoes and some code books and other gear. And the ship's bell, strangely enough.
The torpedoes are big, the codes are big, but you mentioned a human element.
This is where the story takes a wild turn. Inside that wreckage, they found the bodies of 6 Soviet sailors. And the CIA, right there on the deck of the Glomar Explorer, held a full military burial at sea for them.
Wait, what? They steal the enemy sub and then give the crew a formal funeral?
With honors.
Huh.
They buried them in a steel casket, even filmed it. Years later, they secretly gave that tape to the Russians. It's this moment of respect, I guess, in the middle of the most ruthless spy game imaginable.
That really complicates things. It's not just a cold-blooded heist then.
The mission on the water ended there. But the real drama started in 1975, when reporters started sniffing around. They figured out the whole deep-sea mining story was a joke.
Of course, a ship that big doing that. Someone was bound to call them on it.
So the CIA director, William Colby, he panics. He personally goes to news editors and begs them not to run the story. He's worried it will cause this huge international incident.
That is rich. They're worried about being rude after they just committed Grand Theft Submarine.
The story leaks anyway. And that's when reporters file Freedom of Information Act requests, FOIA requests. And they want all the documents in the CIA trying to kill the story. And now the CIA is trapped. They can't admit the documents exist because that confirms the mission. But they can't deny they exist because that's lying.
They needed a brand new way to say no comment, a legal loophole.
They invented one on the spot. Their official response was that they could neither confirm nor deny the existence of any records on the matter. Basically saying, we can't even tell you if we have a file because the act of telling you would give away a secret.
I'm not saying yes and I'm not saying no. That's the ultimate government non-answer.
And it stuck. It became known as the Glomar response, named after the ship. So this massive $5 billion technical failure accidentally created the single most powerful tool for government secrecy in modern history.
The real prize wasn't the torpedoes. It was a new way for the government to legally tell you to get lost.
You got it. The Secretary of Defense at the time called it a marvel, which, is a bit of a stretch considering the claw broke.
Yeah.
But in the end, they just let the cover story stand, let the world think they were clumsy miners. It was better than admitting what they'd really done.
And this Glomar response, it's still a thing today.
Oh, absolutely. You, the listener, you can file a FOIA request for something, and if they decide that just acknowledging the documents exist is a threat to national security, you will get Glomart. It's a black hole of information that was born from this wreck.
Which brings up the big question, right? The conspiracy stuff. What if the sub wasn't even the main mission?
And that's the thought I want to leave you with. Some people think Project Azorian itself was the cover story, that they needed this huge, noisy, expensive operation to distract everyone while they did something else nearby, something smaller, quieter, like, say, tapping into the undersea communication cables the Soviets used.
So they built a $5 billion distraction to hide a simple wiretap.
It's the ultimate spy game move. So the next time you hear a government official say they can neither confirm nor deny, just remember the Glomar Explorer. The most important secret to come out of that whole mess wasn't a nuclear missile. It was a sentence, a legal trick to keep secrets forever. And it's working perfectly.